Hey guys and gals, this is Alex coming to you from northern Norway, and I'm here with my good friend Jonas Piontek. We're currently here in northern Norway to shoot some Arctic landscapes, and among other things we're also checking out some of the new FLM tripods. As some of you may know, I've been working with FLM for a couple of years now, and they've recently released a line which is called the L2 line, I think. And they sent us two tripods, which is the CP38L5 II, which is the one I'm holding right now. And they've also sent us the smaller brother, the CP34, I think it is. The names are a little bit cryptic, but the CP38, for example, has a 38mm diameter, and the CP34 has the according diameter at the top of the thickest tube of the tripod. These tripods are all about stability. So as you can see, this is a big, beefy tripod, and even without the head, it weighs around, I think, 2.3 kilograms. I've used this tripod for about 2 or 3 months now. I have had it on Senja, where I was shooting with Jonas, and also on the Lofoten workshop earlier this year. And this is the third time, so I actually have some experience when I'm talking about this tripod and know some of the ups and downs of it. So I'll walk you through what you might want to know about this tripod and some of the advantages and disadvantages. So one of the things that I really like about this tripod as opposed to the older series are the new improved shoulder and the lag lock mechanisms. So the first thing that you notice when you look at this tripod is that the head currently on this tripod is a little bit too small for the base plate. So the base plate has a, I think, 95mm diameter, which is huge, and you can attach a lot of different mounts to it. So this is the CP48, and I'm not going to talk too much about the ball head other than that I've been using this one for about 3 years now, and you can read more about the ball head on my blog. That link will be down there in the video description. So if you want to read more about the ball heads in general, just check out the blog. And also, because this does not have a center column, you can attach like a video ball onto it and all sorts of other gadgets. And I personally really like the lack of a center column because I never use it anyway. It kind of compromises the stability, and when I shoot seascapes exactly especially I mean with heavier winds and waves, so I set up my tripod in the water, for example, the stability is absolutely stellar. The other thing is that even though this does not have a center column, it's absolutely huge. So I'm a big guy, I'm about 6'3", and this tripod just, well, it's bigger than I am, so I guess there's almost nobody who would need such a tripod as big as this, but it offers a lot of interesting options and variety in usage. For example, you can use it to shoot a creek where you would want to put two of the larger legs in the water and one onto the flat surface of the earth, so you can basically get a higher perspective even though they're submerged in the water. And also in conditions like this, it's really helpful because you usually sink in very deep into the snow, and you can still set it up very high to spread out your foreground compositionally. So it really helps to have a big tripod, and it comes in handy in different situations. But the lag lock mechanism itself also offers the opportunity to get very low to the ground. And it's very easy to use even with gloves in winter time. So let me just demonstrate how this works. This is the locking mechanism. So I can either pull it out like this, or because you don't have a center column, you can simply push it out. And then if you change the angle, it ratchets into place somewhere around the top of the angle you can choose. And then if you pull it down, there are different levels where you can just lock it in. If you pull out the angle, because it does not have a center column, you can simply get very low to the ground. And that is very good for macro photography, for example, but also if you, like me, are very interested in foreground compositioning. So you can really get low to the ground and see the ground unfold before your wide angle lens. While this tripod is made of carbon fiber, the shoulder is actually made out of aluminum, so it has more stability in this regard. Like the upper parts seem to be all aluminum. All of the screws on this tripod are corrosion free and are made of stainless steel, which is very, very important when you shoot anything that has to do with sea salt flying around and waves splashing onto your tripod. So far I've been using this, like I said, also on the Lofoten Islands, and there I got the opportunity to shoot it in really, really, really bad weather and waves. So whenever it was battered with sea salt after a short shower back in the hotel, none of the screws actually showed any signs of corrosion. So that issue has been addressed in the updated version of this tripod. And another thing that I don't really like though is that they've changed the way the feet, or the spikes rather, are attached to the tripod. And the older versions of this tripod, or rather all of the older versions of their tripods, FLM that is, you were able to retract the spike by simply giving it a short twist and then pulling out the spike or pushing in the rubber feet. In this case, you have a 3/8 thread where you can attach rubber feet like these, or rock grabbers, or other sorts of spikes. That means if you want to really quickly switch the feet for spikes, that's not entirely feasible, but instead you have very, very long spikes that can be attached to it. So there's a downside and an upside. I personally really like the retractable spikes, so for me this is not the right kind of thing, because I usually switch territory quickly. So I walk from one beach, like a sandy beach, onto a couple of rocks, and then I would use the spikes. And then when I'm back on the sand, I would not use the spikes, for example, stuff like that. So that's a little bit tricky now and a little bit cumbersome in practice. But I guess for some people that really, really need long and stable spikes, it's a little bit better this way. So you have to consider this when looking into the tripod. So I've put a really big emphasis on the stability side of this tripod, simply because part of the stability actually comes from the weight. And this tripod is not a light one. This is a really sturdy, beefy, big tripod, and it's very heavy. So the weight is about 2.3 kilograms without the ball head, and that gives you a lot of weight to work with in windy conditions. However, this is not for anyone who would want to hike. So it's more something for the seascape kind of things, and also one of the things that I really like to do with this is shoot wind. And my friend Jonas Piontek actually uses this to chase storms, because it has so much sturdy stability that even a little bit of wind can't hurt it, and even in stronger winds it's pretty stable. One other thing that I really, really like about the tripod are these turn knobs, because these are really beefy turn knobs that are really big and have a lot of grip, and are made of aluminum. As you can see, I've been using mine for a couple of shootings now, as I've said, and they already have a little bit of, well, you can basically see that I've used it quite a lot. And what I like about these turn knobs is that you only have to turn them like 1/8 of a turn to unlock them, and it runs really, really smoothly, and only with 1/8 of a turn I can simply lock it back. Even though FLM have sent us these tripods, sadly we have to return them as soon as we're done with this review. And after these 3 times in Norway up here with this tripod, I can really say that I've grown very fond of it, and it's the perfect tool for anyone who wants to use a tripod that has absolute maximum stability and general haptics. So it just feels good to use. And that is something that to me is very, very important, but because photography for me is also about fun. And sometimes if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of a composition, for example, you don't really want to think about the tripod, but rather about the composition. And this tripod just feels the way that it is not in the way of you getting the picture that you want. So sadly, this review will probably be the end between me and this absolutely gorgeous tripod, because I've had to send it back. That makes me quite sad.